Hello, everyone. Welcome to Financeology 101. Class is now in session. The information provided during this podcast is just that, information. You will need to do further research to address your specific situation. Enjoy the session.
Hello, we're back again as Gifted Generations LLC presents Financeology 101. Today we have the honor of a very special guest. Been knowing him 29 years, almost 30 years, plus 9 months. This special guest is my oldest son, Tori Seegers. Welcome, Tori Seegers.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me.
So it is such a pleasure to talk to you one-on-one, man to man, young man and young man. I do consider myself young. Today's topic is about savings and finances. And you've been living with us for quite a long time, and you and I have been going through the best ways to save and some strategies. And what I want to talk about today is what have you learned, some of the pitfalls, some of the things you want to discuss that you learned from my teachers and your mother's teaching, what you think you could have done better, things you could have changed, what you agree with, things you don't agree with. So let's just start there. I had my own way of doing things, and I try to pass it on to my two boys, Tori and Tyrell. Tyrell's serving in the military right now. And so from your perspective, tell me what you think about savings. You're Gen X? What are you? You're millennial? Millennial. So tell me how you and your friends have a conversation about savings.
Well, the way it usually goes is we talk about the difference between spending / buying power and saving power. Everybody wants to strut around about their ability to buy something, but you don't see a lot of people, especially in my generation, strutting around about how much they can save. And I had a conversation with my friend. He lives up in New York. And I just told him, I was like, I reached my goal for savings. And he's like, oh, how much did you save? I was like, oh, 10K. And he froze. He was like, you have how much saved? I was like, 10K. And to me, I was like, because of my dad being my dad, and the way he likes to save and his financial.
Y'all, I had to get that clap in there. Go ahead, son.
And the way he saves, to me, because he'd been telling me for a long time, and we'll get to that. He was like, son, you need to get to 10K. And he first told me that when it was 2012. So it's been a while. He was like, you need to save up 10K. He's like, if you just trust me. Did I trust his word at the time? No, because it didn't make the most sense to me. I was like, why 10K? I was like, I should just be saving to save. He's like, no, you have to have a goal or else you're not going to be able to. You'll just be saving aimlessly. It's like you'll just, chip here, throw in some money. He's like, no, you need to set out a plan. So I was like, I get what you're saying, but in practice, to me, it didn't seem practical at the time. So if there's one thing I could go back and change, it'd be I would go back to the past and I would tell myself, I would sit myself down and be like, you should probably listen to your father. Because, dad's never really been wrong when it comes to money. So why do you think this is the one time he won't be right? So if that's one thing I could definitely do. Because I remember I was saving because I was working a job in college. I was working at a kid's clothing store and I was saving money. I was putting some stuff in here and then I'll never forget it. I was taking money out of my savings because at the time I thought was saving was just like an extra pot where I could just put money and just take it out whenever I need it. So, I'd be like, oh, I'm a little low. I'll just take out 100 here, 100 there. And then I didn't know that if you take out your money too often in a month, the bank hits you. They get you. So I remember I'm on my way out of work one day and I get a call from my dad. And he's like, boy, what are you doing? I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, what are you doing with your savings account? And I was like, saving? He's like, no. He's like, you're taking money out of your savings. I was like, yes, the point of savings. He's like, no, the point of savings is to save. I didn't realize that. I think there's a maximum of I think it's 4 or 5 times you can take out money from your savings account in a month. And I was like, oh man, this is definitely my 6th time this month taking out money from my savings. Yeah. So I realized then the importance of all right, I need to do better. So let's just go ahead and jump forward to I'll say my second job, the job I'm currently working at, because that's when like I was still going through like the same kind of process, like with saving, trying to save more, but at the same time, like wanting to live my life, feeling like if I save too much, I don't get to have any fun. But if I save too little, then I'm not putting into my savings account, which is something my dad has spoken about a lot. He's like, save, but don't save too much where you don't get to have fun, but don't save too little where your savings account isn't making any increase. And the example he said was, he's like, I want you to start off by putting in $300. Put in 300 and see where you end up at the end of the month. If you see that saving 300 wasn't enough, you can increase it a little bit. But if you see that saving 300 was too much, then you can adjust from there. He's like, but I want you to put in at least 300 a month. So I was like, okay, I can work with that. That's a good number. So I was putting in $300 a month, and then I was looking at my bank account, and I was like, oh man, it's just a really nice feeling to see your savings account slowly build, like to see that number get bigger and bigger each month. I was like, this is a nice feeling, but I was still struggling with like, maybe I'll just cheat here. I'll cheat here. I'll put in. I'll do what a lot of people do. I won't do 300 this month. I'll put 100, keep 200 for myself, but I'll put in 500 next month. Just to balance it out. That 500 never happened. I'm not gonna lie to myself. It didn't happen. It never did. And then I fell behind, and then I fell back into old habits, and then it took me forever because I was trying to get the 5,000, and it took me far too long to get the 5,000. And then what helped change that is like I started working at an after school care before school care program at my school, and I was making a lot of money from the hours between before and after school care. So I told myself, I was like, what am I going to do with all this money? It's like, that's so much. I was like, yeah, I'll put like 300 in savings, save a little something for myself, go treat myself. And then I can hear my dad's voice in the back of my head, just softly saying, if you keep it in your bank account, you'll probably waste it. Save. And I was like, what? Save the money, put in more. Do it, son. Make sure you clean the kitchen when you get home. So I was like, that was random, but that was definitely my dad talking to me. So I was like, all right. So I got paid that Friday. I sat down in my finances. I sat down. I made a budget for the month. I saw how much I had. I saw how much I had in savings. I was like, how much can I actually put away and still be comfortable? And because I was making so much money because of before and after school care at that time, I was like, I can put away $500 a month and still be totally fine. And when I realized that, I was like, so I can save $1,000 every month. And when I realized that, because I was working crazy hours and I loved it, I was at that school for about 13 hours a day. I was making good money. So I was like, that's it. This is the new standard, because anything below 500, I felt like I was cheating myself.
Okay.
So I started putting away $500 a month. And then I remember the day I walked into my parents' room, I was like, guess how much I have saved up? They're like, how much? Like $5,000. My dad was like, ooh, look at you, big money grill, yeah. I was like, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. I'm getting there. So, when like taxes came around and stuff like that, I would just take basically all the tax money and just throw it in the savings. Yep. It's like, 'cause I don't need to do anything with it. Like, right. I can live off of what I have. I don't really want to splurge for anything. I'm good. Right. So I just do it all in the savings, and I still do that till this day. And then the big milestone, and I'll never forget it. I was at literally $9,500, and I was like, I get paid tomorrow. This is going to be such a sweet victory. I wake up, and the first thing I did was transfer over $500 into my bank account to give me the $10,000 that I needed. Mind you, it was like 5:30 in the morning. I kick open the door. I was like, ask how much money I have saved in my bank account. And then my dad is a morning person, so he was like, how much? My mom's not so much. She was like, how much you got saved? I was like, $10,000. My dad was like, woo! That's what I'm talking about. I'm gonna start calling you a 10,000-aire. What's up? That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about, son. I'm proud of you. I'm so proud of you. And I'm dancing in the room. I'm like, yeah, I did it. And it was such a great feeling, because I was like, it's possible. It's 100% possible. It's just, it has to click for you.
A mindset shift.
Yeah, it was a paradigm shift.
Yeah.
I went from all about being about buying and spending power to the in between of like buy and save, and then I realized I was like I can still save a lot and like I can still treat myself because I found like that sweet spot. So I was like, this is a really nice feeling. So now the saving longevity, the savings longevity power, buying power is nice, but it's more immediate. Once it's gone, it's gone. But that saving, it's beautiful.
So tell me about the biggest struggles. I understand you saying way back when you first started saving, most of it was a mental battle. What other kind of struggles? What did you feel peer pressure for, like hanging out with your friends, shopping and looking like them? I mean, what other kind of peer pressure that influenced your decision to say, I need to do better and not living like, the world is living?
Well, the biggest benefit for me is that between me and my brother, we are complete opposites. My brother is super extroverted. I am 100% introverted. I don't like going anywhere. I like sitting in my room. I like chilling. I like being in my own space. So part of what worked for me, I realized I was like, why am I spending all this money? I ain't going nowhere.
Right.
Because like, I'm literally spending money to just sit in my room. I was like, that's a little foolish. I could understand if I were like going out with the friends and stuff like that. I was like, I'm not going anywhere. It's like, why am I wasting so much? And at that point, it's not spending. I was wasting money because I wasn't doing anything.
Remember, I used to say, son, why is there some purchases on your credit card when you have cash? And
Oh yeah, yeah.
you remember those conversations?
Yeah, because there was a series of time where I was getting a lot of boxes.
A lot.
Oh yeah, a lot is.
I'm like, dude, what's up with your credit card? Why is there a balance on your credit card?
Yeah.
You
Guilty.
remember those?
Yeah, guilty as charged. At one point, my credit card, because I was going crazy, and as my dad said, it was over $1,000 now, and I realize now, and I get like anxious, I get like low grade anxiety when I look at my credit card statement, so I try to keep it as low as possible, because I hate looking at that number. Because because the way you think about it, it's like, it's only $10, that's fine, and then you go get something like, it's only $35, that's fine, $50, that's fine, $150, that's fine, $500, that's fine. Oh, I'll pay it off. That number gets even anywhere above like 200. I'm like, I feel sick to my stomach. I start feeling off.
So what was my rule about credit cards and paying it off and what you can spend on it? What was my rule? You remember the rule?
From what I can recall, don't pay off the minimum. Never pay off the minimum because you would think paying off the minimum each month would help you get the balance back down to zero, but interest is crazy.
Pay it off in full.
Pay it off in full. So whenever whenever my credit card comes up, I understand that any extra money that I would have had for playing, for fun time, and stuff like that, it's just gonna have to take a hit because I was maybe an emergency came up, like cars and stuff like that, repairs, like you gotta pay it in full.
So we talked a lot about budgeting. So even though you use a credit card, for buying stuff online and you would, pay it off at the end of the month, did you have a budget amount? You usually like say, well, I'm gonna go out and spend $800 and then I'm gonna take $800 for my savings or whatever. Was there an amount that you lived on every month, and did you exceed that amount from month to month?
I can't give an exact number, but yes.
But number's not fine. Okay, no number, but did you live on a limit? Like, let's say you said yourself, I can budget myself for $250 a month to do what I want to with. But then you said, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and spend $400 because I got savings to draw from. Did you stay within your limited amount of budgeting for your expenses, your personal expenses?
So yes and no. It's because nobody's perfect. Sometimes you might forget, you might, you're like, maybe I can do it just this 1 month. It'll be okay. I can bounce back, and that's fine every once in a while, like you want to treat yourself, but you have to understand whatever you take out, you need to put back in full the next time you get paid. You don't just nickel and dime it in. You got to put it back as you found it.
All right, let's talk about this right here. And it's something that I always try to encourage people. I know at one point in time, you kind of struggle with that. You would like, when you had a car repair bill, and you had a savings amount, let's say $5,000, but you had it all in one big bucket, and you would like go get your car done, it cost you $250, and then you would drop down $500, you would drop down to $4,500. You're like, man, my savings is not $5,000 no more. And we had that conversation. I was telling you, you need to have a separate amount that's not part of your savings. So when you go to emergency savings, it's just for that incident or that situation where you had maybe 5,000 in your savings account, 1,000 in emergency, and then you start building up your 3 to 6 month savings. So talk about that switch where you had everything in one account until you made that connection of, I need to separate my money.
All right, so for me, I would say I would feel like I was working so hard, and I finally reached the $5,000 goal, and then life happens, and I remember I think it was like brakes or something like that, or tires or something like that, and it's a great feeling. It's like I can pay this off without going like into debt. Like I have the money for it up front, but because I was still so new to it, I felt terrible because it was like, oh great, now I'm no longer at my goal, because at that time I had everything in one savings account. My dad was like, well, do you have an emergency fund? I was like, I just learned to start saving. What in the world is an emergency fund? Like, Dad, I'm on the tricycle, and you ripped off the training wheels, and you're like, now go down this hill. You got it, son. I'm like, I can barely pedal the bike myself. So I was like, all right, an emergency fund basically is you put money into a second savings account, and then when like you need like car repairs, things like that, you pull your money from there versus your main savings account. And I was like, well, why would I need two? Why can't I just put it all in like the same savings account? And he was like, well, think about it like this.
Mental.
He's like, it's a mental thing. Because like when you put everything into the same bucket and you take something out of the same bucket, you're gonna be like, oh man, my bucket's a little lower now. But if you have two buckets, and you have like the main bucket, which is like the big bucket, and then you have like a small bucket for like emergencies and things like that, you won't feel as bad because like that is set for these kinds of things, versus like touching like the big savings account. And whenever you touch the big savings account, you're kind of like, I don't know if I should have done that. Versus an emergency savings account, it's like, oh, got it, allotted.
Right.
That's it. Keep it moving.
Yeah. A mental, to me, was a mental aspect of you just knowing to switch. And I have to commend you. You come a long way. I stayed on you a lot. And that's my job, man. I'm trying to build that legacy so you can have your own legacy. So let's talk about this right here. You moving forward, do you see what are your dreams and aspirations towards savings? And you're gonna be 30 this month, and yeah, you're still young. And I'm always telling you, you can retire at a young age, maybe 20 more years. And so now you now put money into your the state funded. How does it feel that you have started that? Now it took us a while because you and I fought about that thing for a while. Remember that?
What?
Yeah, we fought.
What?
I was like, Tori, I'm going to do it next month. Tori.
What? I don't remember that.
Tori.
I don't.
You're like, oh, okay, I'm going to start. And then now that you started that, and you see that's growing, and you see that thing can take momentum, how does it feel to have your savings, your emergency savings, maybe a travel fund, and now you have your own state 403B, right?
401k.
401k. So how does it feel having that, knowing that you're moving towards a retirement goal at a young age?
For me, I would say a milestone, because the running joke in our generation is adulting is hard. We like the running. It's like, what's something that you didn't know was expensive until you became an adult? People were like groceries, gas, light, clothing. We're like, we didn't know this was expensive when we were kids because mom and dad took care of everything.
Well, you did know for a little bit, because for that one year I made you keep my chicken book.
Oh gosh. Oh, the headaches.
Remember that?
My dad would, and it was like, this was back when I was like a kid. So when you were on the computer, it was a physical checkbook and a pen, and he would hand me all the receipts. He'd be like, balance it. I'd be like, oh, Dad, I just want to go outside. He's like, no, balance this checkbook. And I would be sitting down, and I'd be going through receipts, and then at one point I'd be like, where's the receipt? Dad, you just came back from the store. Where's the receipt?
Yeah.
He was like, what do you need? He's like, you told me to balance the checkbook.
Yeah.
Give me the receipt.
Remember that time you used a penny off?
Oh, dude. All right. So, yeah. Even now when I do my own personal checkbook, if I'm a penny off, I go through every bank statement, every receipt. I'm like, where in the world did this penny come from? Because my bank will say such and so with 87 cents, but my book says 86. Where's the other penny? That one penny made me so upset. I was like, give me all your receipts right now. I'm in charge of your banking. I need to find out where this penny came from.
Boy,
Guess what? I did my math wrong.
Oh, man.
I lost the penny somewhere without with adding and subtracting and stuff like that.
Boy, I remember that. That was good old days. I was just trying to teach you the principle of knowing how to balance a checkbook. And I also want to just show you how we spent money in his household. And I actually gave him the checkbook, all the receipts, all the bills, everything, utilities, lights, gas, car, mortgage. It was the actual live statement. And I was like, I ain't doing this no more. You're going to do this for a while until you get a good grip on it. Because to me, I was trying to show you what's out there in the world. Now, how old were you then? Like 14, maybe 15?
I was more like 13,
Yeah,
maybe,
I know.
maybe 12.
Was it that young? I thought you were decent high school.
No, gosh, no. I was in middle school.
Got him young.
So think about this, because again, the thing with our generation is we get angry at the older generations because we're like, these are things we wish you would have taught us in school. And the biggest thing was finances. So other kids in school are like sweating about, oh man, we got the math test. Math test? We have a light bill due and I don't know how much it is. What you talking about, math? He's like, and I'm pretty sure my dad has to go to the store today. I don't know how much that's going to be. It better be a budget though. Forget the math test, kids. We got bigger things to worry about. And they're all like, what are you talking about? It's like, money, man. Money. Finances are crazy. And they're looking at me like, why are you doing the finances? Because I need to learn this, apparently. But he just said do it. He said do it, so I'm going to do it. So I'm over there sweating, having cold sweats about, oh man, all right, the light bill's due. All right, how much was water? Oh man, the water bill was a little high this month. I need to take less showers. The showers need to be less time. I'm in my head I need you to picture this. I need you to picture an 8th grader sitting in class, reading a book, and all of a sudden you go, yo, how much did they spend on food this month? Hold on a second. The budget didn't allot for that. I need to have a conversation. At that point, I was like, I'm the one calling the family meetings. Yo, we need to have a talk about this budget. Y'all spend too much. Y'all stay in and cook more. We got all this food, and we're going out to eat.
So do you think those lessons help you in life now as far as how we live our lives and how you live your life as far as how you go out and, your everyday environment and the things you do?
Oh, gosh, yes. See, one thing, because my generation, again, we be joking with all that stuff about talking about finances. The one thing I do because especially when with the kids at school with like staff kids, kids who go to the school who have parents, and I'm friends with their parents, and they're always like, oh, I got $100 for my birthday. I'm like, oh, you should like save 50. You should save 50 of that. And they're like, why? I can go get this and that. I was like, now I see what my dad is talking about. Now that I'm on the other side, I'm like, I see what he's talking about because it's like, as a kid, like $100 is a lot of money.
Right,
like,
right.
I could do this and that and blah blah blah. And so I'm like, yeah, you could spend all of that. I was like, but what happens to it once you spend it? He's like, it's gone. I'm like, exactly. I was like, so just put 50 into a savings account, or and then do something else with the other 50. He's like, well, I can't get as much. That's fine. That's okay. Sacrifice now for gains later.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's just something I tried to instill because at the time I was a leadership specialist at the school, and the kids were talking about money. I'm like, you're wasting your money on that.
Okay.
I was like, you can if you want to, but I'd be like, I'd save personally.
So you had some carryover from your household taken out to your personal life in school, then, huh?
Oh gosh, yes. My running rule is like if I had to deal with the kids,
you gotta deal with it too.
you gotta deal with it too.
I'm gonna spray y'all with this here love,
Mr. Torrey. I want to go home. If I have to stay at school and work, you have to stay here and learn. That's how the contract goes. We can't. If you're not leaving, I can't leave.
So let's go back even a little bit further. Now, you know how I love planning vacation trips. You know how I'm always on the computer looking at where we're going to go next. I'm looking like 12, 18 months out.
Oh, gosh, yes. There'd be days where I would come home and he's just sitting on the computer and he's just looking at stuff. And I'm like, oh, man, what's that? And he's like, oh, I'm just looking at rooms. I was like, are we going anywhere? He's like, not anytime soon.
Savings.
I was like, then for me at that time, I was like, then why in the world are you looking? And then a year and a half goes by and he's like, all right, we're going on a trip. We'll be gone for about 2 weeks. And I'm like, where did this come from? He's like, remember that one random day I was just sitting on the laptop? I was like, you were planning that far in advance? He's like, oh gosh, yes. And when I said planning is an understatement for my father.
It's all about that savings plan. It all trickles over to the rest of your life if you have a plan and strategy in place. I love to save, so when we go on vacation, we can spend like no one else spends before. I don't believe in just going just to be going and not having enough for us to live a lavish vacation style. We believe in taking 7-day vacations when we go places, not 2 and 3 days, And typically we spend more time because I like to get down there before the vacation starts.
So in reality, so say we're going for 2 weeks. That's not the case. It's more like 2 weeks in like 3 days. 2 weeks and 3 days is more accurate, because this one time, and I'll never forget it, we were going, I think I was in high school. I think I was like a junior or senior. We were going to go down to Florida, and we had a family friend with us as well. And I was like, all right, how long till we get to, I think the destination was Orlando. He's like, oh no, we're not going to Orlando. We're stopping in Daytona first. I was like, what? He's like, we're just going to cruise down. We're just going to enjoy ourselves all the way down. Me being young at the time, it's like, let's just get to the destination. Like that's where the vacation is. And Dad was like, no, we're gonna mosey our way down and enjoy ourselves. And it didn't make sense to me until like the trip ended, because we went to the NASCAR racetrack and stuff like that. We went to the actual Daytona Beach where the first NASCAR race was held, and then we went down to Fort Lauderdale, Orlando, Miami, the Keys, Key West. And so he was just like, we're just gonna mosey our way down the coast. We're gonna take a day to travel, stop, and all that stuff. To me, I was like, let's just get there, let's just go. And my dad was like, we're gonna switch it up this time. And at the end of the trip, it made sense, because I was like, that was it felt much longer than the 2 weeks and 3 days, because we had done so much.
Right.
And we were able to do that because my dad, you understand, my dad does a budget. He makes a budget for a budget within a budget. And if that budget doesn't work, he has a side budget. If that side budget doesn't work, don't worry, he has the secret backup budget.
Savings.
It's almost like Inception, but with money. It's a budget within a budget with another budget. If that budget doesn't have enough allocated, don't worry. I have a side budget that nobody else knew about. I saved for this 5 years ago, looking for this exact moment. And I'm like, how much foresight do you have when it comes to saving? It's like, hey, if you save, you don't have to worry about it. And I was like, got it. That makes sense. And you think this is a joke? It's not. It's not.
But tell me something though. So even though you're knowing a lot of these things now, and all this stuff is it's making sense to you now, can you imagine if your mother and I did not do that? Can you imagine the things you might have missed out on? Think about it.
I would have missed out on some of the most fondest and most look back memories of my life. I mean, and just a lot because some of my fondest memories are just going back to Florida. And at one point in time, we were going back to Florida basically every year during the summer.
Twice a year sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes twice a year, just go, like just get out of the state, go back to Florida, relax on the beach, stuff like that. It was like I would miss out on a lot of those moments if my parents were not the way that they are about money. And it's fascinating to think about it that way, how much something as simple as putting away money can affect not only your life, but like the future of your children, like what they may or may not miss out on.
Right. Yep. And a lot of people think it's about saving a large amount. Sometimes it's just $5 here, $10 there. And you see that amount starts to grow over time. But I always tell people, it's not the amount, it's the attitude towards saving.
Yep.
If you can have an attitude towards saving, your attitude starts to multiply. And when your attitude starts to multiply in a positive way, so does your finances, because it changes your whole perspective on life.
Yep.
So let's talk about the now. You're dating someone. I'm happy that you're dating her. She's a nice young lady.
Oh yeah, she's real pretty.
Yeah. Very lovely young lady. So how do you do things now? Because you got somebody in your life right now.
I do.
And
I do.
so how do you see spending when it comes to that? I mean, how do you guys communicate about spending now? You go out a lot, you eat in the house a lot. I mean, how do you manage that new part of your budget? Because before it was just you. right? So now you
That's
have,
single life.
now you have somebody else that you want to care for and shower as much love as your dad has showered you and your mom and your son or your brother with love. How do you manage that new lifestyle with your finances?
I would like to say, based off of how I grew up in this household and what I've seen, in all honesty, it's just about the same. Like, we can go out and eat every once in a while, but we've gone and bought groceries ourselves to cook in here, because she also doesn't like going out to eat as much. She also enjoys making food for herself, like in house. So I mean, I understand. Like for others, it might be tougher or easier because of the mindset. But we're pretty much on the same page. Like there was no discrepancies. No, well, this is how the finances are going to go. And like, I'm not gonna do. That's not what she sounds like, by the way. I'm not gonna do that. No, it's basically I was like, you want to go to Wendy's? We can go this one time. And you're like, yeah, let's go to Wendy's. And all right. Okay. And then after that, it was like we would just make stuff at home.
So you have a good balanced life when it comes to understanding what the needs are versus the wants are between you two, and you guys can manage your finances in a way that is flourishing and it's not failing.
Yes.
That is good to know. Good, and I can vouch for that, y'all.
She real smart. She real smart, everybody.
Well, Tori, is there anything that you might want to give words of wisdom out to the public, to people of your age, and also say people of my age too, the young ones, the baby boomers? What would you say was the biggest lesson learned when it comes to savings that you can say, now you did say if you had to look back, you would do things differently. If you look at it now, moving forward, what kind of advice would you give people of your age, your generation, and what would you give people of my generation?
For my generation, I would say it's tough, but not impossible.
Okay.
Because...
Is that because of the mindset or
It's the mindset.
Okay.
It's the millennial mindset.
Okay.
To be real honest, the millennial mindset can be really toxic sometimes when it comes to money. It's just bad. Because referencing again, when I told my friend I'd save $10,000.
Right.
And he was like, that's a lot. And to me, I said, that's not a lot. He was like, I need you to understand something. He's like, how much do you make at your job versus how much I make at my job?
Right.
He's like, Tori, I don't even have like $1,000 in my savings. Like, but you work and you have such a higher paying job. I'm like, what's up? He's like, I just don't save like that. He's like, but he's like, you make less, significantly less. He's like, but you have 10,000 in your savings to show.
So what I'm hearing is that you're actually mentoring other people what you learned in this household, take it in someone else's household. So you're actually spreading knowledge.
Yes.
Okay, that's good. So I didn't mean to cut you off. So go ahead and finish what you want to give out to the world who's listening to this podcast. What advice would you give them?
My advice for those who have, we'll start with the parents who have young kids. If those kids are getting money for birthdays, you need to start having a conversation with your kids as soon as they get that money. Like that first birthday where they're like, "Oh man, I got $300. All right, son, here's how it's gonna go."
Right.
Or daughter, here's how it's gonna go.
Right.
200 of that 300 is going into savings.
Right.
The 100 is yours, and then you need to have a tough conversation about why.
Right.
Why? Because back when I was having big birthday parties with my family, if I could think about if I just put away just 40% of all the money I had gotten for my birthday parties, I would be so much. I was getting like $500 a birthday. For no reason. I was getting like $500 a birthday.
And that's just from family.
Yeah. And this happened from age 8 up until like age 16 for about 8. If I had put away $250 per birthday, just putting it away, I would be so much further ahead. When I look, because I was looking back at it, because again, students talking about like they got money for their birthday. I'm sitting there and I'm like, yo, why didn't I just save all of it?
And that's good because now you're seeing as you look back how you can influence others to change the mindset and way they do things differently. And another thing I want to say is that like I have nieces and nephews and they have kids. And what I told them may sound kind of cruel. I won't buy your nieces. I won't buy my nieces or my nephews nothing. Great nieces, great nephews, nothing. I said until you start those kids a 529. Is it 529?
I think so.
A 529 plan to go to school. I said I won't buy them a shirt. I I want to give you $1. I said, because my goal was to, every time there was a birthday, to put money into those accounts for those kids. If you're not doing, then somebody has to do it. And it's nice to have clothes, branded toys, but education and funding that future is essential. So I think they all now have 529 plans for all their kids. And I was like, give me the information so I can deposit money into the account. Or if I give you money, I want to see that money that's now deposited. So my thing was like, having young kids, and they're like, what, from 1 to 13, have a future. Planning for college future is expensive. And each year that you go by and not saving towards that kid's future is a chance that you have just missed out on blessing your child, your child, your daughter, your son. So I'm always encouraging people, start that plan early at birth. And you can just give $10 a month. By the time they get 18, you can be like, wow. But if you start at 13 and 14, you just missed out on 13 years pouring into that child's future. So I always encourage my nephews and nieces, start young. And I will also encourage anybody out there with kids, look at the opportunity at birth. And because when you can't make it to a party, what happens is you can tell your aunts, your uncles, your friends, here you go, give to this fund. And anybody can get to that fund, but not everybody can come to a party. Because typically speaking, you get gifts and stuff when someone comes to a party. But they won't give you no gift card where you get the cash out now. Yeah. But they don't mind giving to a kid's future. People love to give to a kid's future. Yeah. And that is essential that we do that now and stop missing on these opportunities. Parties are nice. Don't get it wrong. I love having parties. But you got to do that and then plan for the future. Is there anything else you want to say, Tor, before we wrap up this opportunity of you speaking freely as a man? It's from savings. Want to say hey to Christina?
Christina, if you listen to this, I love you.
Your mom gonna get us for that. She was like, I gotta edit that out.
Sorry, Mom, I love you. But in all seriousness, I would say thank you to my dad, more specifically his thumb, aka his rule. Because he has this thing he likes to say, oh, you're underneath my thumb. And it's just this, I know it sounds so silly, but it's so scary because he'd just walk in and he would just put his thumb up and he would just go up and then he would just press it down on the table. And I knew what it meant. It's like, oh, I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble. He wouldn't have to say anything. He would just make eye contact with me. Like the room could be nice and vibrant and I'm just relaxing. And then the second he walks in, the energy just drops. I'm like, ooh, that's never a good sign for me. He looks at me, he just points. Thumbs up and then presses it down on the table and he walks out. I'm like, what did I do now? He's like, did I miss something? Did I forget to wash the dishes? I was like, oh man. But no, it was usually about money. It was like, I saw your credit card statement, son. I was like, ooh, this thumb is going to be different because this one he's not going to let up on easily because this is his passion. This is what he does. Other ones, you kind of just like, right, he learned his lesson. No, that thumb is still on me. That thumb has been on me since I turned like 13. I'm 29 now. The thumb is never going to go away.
Oh man!
But I'm thankful for it because I just got my tax return, and the first thing I did, I wasn't second guessing. I threw 1,000 straight in savings without question.
Wow.
With no questions asked. I wasn't like, maybe.
My 10%.
10% is love and affection. I love you.
Oh man, I really have finances.
Well, your 10% comes in with the fact that I listen to you.
Okay, I take that.
That's more than
I take that.
That's more than what most parents.
If I can pass on that knowledge, oops, hit my head. If I can pass on that knowledge, I'm more than happy to doing that because I know essentially I'm teaching you how to fish.
Yes, I am. I'm a pretty good fisherman now. I'm not gonna lie. I'm pretty good.
Cast that net.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, Tori, I want to thank you for your time and your patience for just being under the thumb for 34 minutes. So if anybody wants to follow us, Gift Generations LLC, we can be found at the following places. On Facebook, it's Gifted Gen LLC. On Instagram, it's gift.gen. On YouTube, click on the search button, type in Gift Generation LLC, and you will find us. And then, of course, our website is Gifted Generations for the S-LLC.com. And as we always say, Don't forget the dash.
Yeah, don't forget the dash, please. Thank you.
Also, we have a blog out there on the Facebook. So please go ahead and engage out there and start your own conversation. And let's start a conversation about money. So we're going to wrap this up. I want to thank you again, Tori, for joining me on the couch in the podcast room.
No problem.
It's been a pleasure to hear some of the things that you've actually learned. It didn't all go in one ear, not the other. I'm glad to know. But I see it. I see the growth, and I just want to say I'm thank God for what you're doing and what you're seeing and how you're living your life. I do want to say that, and I pray that you continue to save and you continue to do the things that you're called to do. You're a bright young man with a bright future, and you have a nice young lady in your life. And I always say, take care of her like I take care of your mom. That's your queen. Take care of your queen. Take care of your queen. So we're gonna be signing off. So as I always say, let's wrap this thing up. This is your boy Roy Seekers. I got skills to pay the bills. We out.
Well, thank you for tuning in to our podcast, Financeology 101. I hope you enjoyed this session and the information provided will assist you on your financial journey. Until next time, be financially engaged.